Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Hey Legal Social. We are live on YouTube. And hello to everyone who watches this on catch up. I'm Edith Forrest. I'm your host for the evening, as always. And as usual, we have an eclectic mix for you covering topics such as your well-being, tech tips to make your working life easier, financial tips for lawyers, and previews of content and events that we have coming up for you. So, as usual, thank you to our sponsors, Denovo, the Cashroom, Paterson Financial Planning, and Bundle Docs. So there is much to cover. So let's get started. Our first topic tonight is a brilliant wellbeing initiative set up by James McFarlane, solicitor at Burness Paull. So welcome, James.
Hi, Edith.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. So James, thank you very much for joining us. You have set up a men's wellbeing group for men within the legal profession. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You're
Yeah,
very welcome.
yes. So well, me among a group of men who have started this wellbeing group, and
Okay.
it's been great so far.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to start with what then gave you the idea to set the group up? That might be a bit of a daft question because obviously we've heard a lot about mental health recently, or certainly in the last 3 years. But what gave you the idea to set up this group?
Yeah, well, I've always really been interested in wellbeing, to be honest. And one thing that kind of stood out to me at the beginning of my career was that I personally felt as though I couldn't really talk about any difficulties or challenges that I was facing because I was trying to be the lawyer that I thought that everybody else was.
Mhm.
And basically through COVID that that changed and I realised that connection was one of the things that helped me and helped so many other people with their wellbeing in general and their mental health specifically. So I attended a Law Society of Scotland working group. It was a round table which was discussing men's mental health last year. Um, and when we were discussing the different things that we could do and the different initiatives, um, I just mentioned the fact that one thing that really helped me was being able to speak to my friend Ryan throughout the COVID pandemic, who is also a lawyer, and that connection really helped me through that kind of tough time. So then I thought, well,
Ryan's been a guest on this show as
yeah,
well, hasn't he? Ryan McQuaig,
yep,
good
yeah,
friend of Hey Legal. Okay.
yes, yeah, he's a good friend, and if he's watching, I hope he is. But there's a wee shout out there right at the start. But yeah, so basically, I just thought, well, why do we not, whilst we're working in this hybrid working model, of a lot of people working from home, why don't we set up a network for men to come and talk about how they feel and just talk about general stuff? Um,
So
because yeah.
what's the kind of general aim, or what aims of this group? What are the aims of the group?
Literally, my only aim is to make people feel better when they leave
Hmm.
the session than when they did when they joined. And if we can do that every time, then if we can improve the well-being of the people that attend the group and wider than that, then the legal profession is going to benefit as a result.
Absolutely. So what then, James? What's the format of the group? How does it all work?
Yeah, so it's very informal, and it's an hour and a Friday lunchtime, the last Friday of every month. And essentially, what happens is we have a theme, and it's a very loose theme. So one, for example, was happiness. Another one is worrying, and these themes are just a way of getting a conversation started.
Mhm.
But essentially, the sessions in the group is what the people make it. So if people want to talk about a certain thing, then that's absolutely fine, and that's what we do. We just try and make the group exactly what it should be for those people who are attending. and it seems to have worked well so far.
That's brilliant. And how many people have actually engaged with you? Do you have kind of regulars that come along each week, or does it change?
Yeah, so we do have regulars. I would say we have a core group of maybe 15 to 20 people, and then other people come in and go, but there's absolutely no pressure to attend every single one. It's just if you ever want to attend, then you absolutely can. We're a very welcoming group. As I say, we've built up a really good connection over the time that we've been together. And it's just great to see that people come back and see the connections forming actually within that group, see
Hmm.
friendships forming. It is great to see. And I myself, I've became friends with a lot of the guys that attended the group, and it's been massively beneficial to me.
That's brilliant. Sounds really positive and supportive. So anyone that's watching this and they think that this is something they'd like to get involved with, how would they go about that?
Yeah, literally, they can. Anybody that's wants to get involved can literally just email me, and I can send you the diary invite. As I say, it's a Friday, the last Friday of every month that we have those sessions. It's online. It's on Teams. So if you either connect with me on LinkedIn and message me there, or send me an email to my work email address, that's james.mcfarlane@burnespaull.com, then I'll send you the invite, and that's it.
That's brilliant. And I dare say we at Hey Legal can assist with that as well. I mean, we can, I'm sure, send out links on our platform too. So we will undertake to do that, James. Just in terms of, again, people that are maybe thinking, oh, that sounds like something that I would be interested in. Does it cut across all age ranges, or is it a kind of specific age range? What have you found?
No, I found that it literally goes from trainee solicitors to partners. There's such a wide age demographic, and what I would say is that's probably the best thing about it, because me as a 1 year qualified lawyer, I can hear of the experiences of a partner who's maybe been through the experiences that I have before and is willing to talk about it. And that's a great thing about it. There's so many different ages and stages of their career, and it literally just, and it also helps the other way. It helps partners see how we might be feeling or how trainees might be feeling at certain stages. So it's really beneficial.
Yeah, I can see that. Not just across kind of wellbeing, but just in business in general, and just giving
Mhm.
everybody a sense of where everybody's at. And as you said at the start, it's this kind of expectation that you maybe just create in your own mind about what a lawyer's meant to look like, especially maybe a male lawyer,
Mhm.
and the very thought that you might be struggling or just having certain issues that you would think that nobody else is having these issues, but to be able to actually open up and share that must be of huge benefit to everybody, as you say. So well done, and it sounds like a really great initiative. We have a guest coming on later, but I think he's perhaps sitting in the wings. Callum Murray from Amiqus. I don't know if he wants to jump on just now, because we had a little chat earlier, and Callum was just kind of telling us a bit about well-being in his area. What, Callum? Anything that you would like to contribute, or any comments you'd like to make?
I think firstly it's fantastic everything that James has shared, and like breaking that stigma of what's expected of someone. Like I had experience of that previously to Amiqus. I set up a mediation business. I was involved in trying to get that going, and I felt like I had to run around in a suit and behave in a certain way and sound a certain way and like fit into a stereotype and do stuff. So I'm familiar with that type of scenario, but from a well-being perspective, it was something that really came to the fore for us in Amiqus, certainly over the COVID period. I think it's still going. There's a new variant. There's loads of people still sick. But when we were all locked down, certainly it was something that became a really clear focus, thinking around how could we support people. Some people find that really difficult to be, isolated. There are certain character types that quite like the idea of being inside and not having to interact with other people who really found that difficult. So one of the things we recognised then was around well-being and providing support to people. So we're now in a position where anyone who's a line manager in Amiqus for perspectives of about 50 people. So in a small company of that size in comparison to James's example in Burness, we've got anyone in a line management role has been through mental health first aid training. So they've all gone off, and there's time spent to look and reflect as to how can you support and respond to someone. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your line manager or someone you work with in a team, but you would know that there's someone to talk to regardless of whatever that challenge might be. And various different things have cropped up over time, and it's good to know that we can all talk. And you're really important that there's maybe some groups and you think of a certain age group or demographic, particularly male, it's maybe a stereotype that you're not going to do that for whatever reason. So great to try and break that.
Absolutely. I think I was just looking at the link to Law Scott, and some of the statistics there are just general comments that men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide than women, and it's the leading cause of death for men under 50. Things that really come as quite stark facts. And yeah, I suppose it's that kind of stiff upper lip attitude where, if you're struggling with something like that, then the last thing you maybe want to do is talk to someone or broach it. But if there are groups or initiatives like you've spoken about, Callum, that are in place, so it's that taboo's broken down before you even begin, and it really, really great initiatives, and we wish you all the very best, James, with it. I'm sure we'll hear it going from strength to strength. So thank you so much for telling us about that. Callum, thanks for jumping on. And what we're going to do just now is just have a short break.
Thank you for having me on.
Not at all, James. Thank you. And as I say, I see that your email address is going past on the screen as we speak, but we will make sure that link's available on our platform, and just promote that as much as we can. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back shortly with some tech tips and more coming up. Thanks again, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our certification courses are the ideal way to increase your knowledge in a specific area, gain recognition, and give your career a lift. With strictly limited numbers, these bespoke courses afford you valuable time with our expert trainers, as well as beneficial peer-to-peer learning and networking opportunities. By broadening your understanding of non-core legal areas, you can expand your services, and a certification from Scotland's professional legal body provides you with demonstrable knowledge, inspiring confidence from your clients. To learn more, please visit the Law Society of Scotland's certification webpage.
So welcome back. It's now time to talk legal tech, which I must say slightly scares me, but I'm hoping to learn a lot tonight. And obviously our Here Legal course has touched on that as well. And so to hear what is coming up in the year ahead, and for us to get some tech tips to help us along the way, we have some guests joining us. So we've got Callum Murray, who we've just been speaking to. And Callum is founder and CEO of Amiqus. Welcome, Callum. Welcome back, Callum.
Thanks a lot.
And we have Gregor Angus, Senior Business Development Manager of Amiqus too. Hello, Gregor. How are you?
Hi, folks. Good. Yeah, really good. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us. We've also got Grant Newell, Head of Marketing and Customer Engagement at Denovo. Hi, Grant.
How you doing? All right?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you.
Good stuff. And finally, slight change because I thought it was going to be Emma, but it's in fact Chris O'Day, Chief Marketing Officer of the Cashroom. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks again to you as well for joining us. So, legal tech, and perhaps the way we could do this is just I'll maybe start with you, Callum. Sorry, I seem to be picking on you tonight. But maybe just asking the same kind of general questions of you all. But so for you, Callum, what were your big achievements in 2022, and what lies ahead for 2023?
Well, Gregor and I haven't spent too much time crossing over what we were each going to say, so I'll be interested to find out what Gregor's highlights have been for the year. And to kick us off, obviously, the biggest thing for me in the last year was getting that integration with Denovo. So now you can seamlessly move between Amiqus and Denovo. But that aside, making things easy for solicitors is a big part of what we do. Big thing over the last year for us was recognition by Deloitte. So we were in their Fast 50 programme this year, and we were recognised as the fastest growing tech business in Scotland and the 5th fastest fintech in the UK, so based across all of the work that we've been doing. So that was a really nice kind of feather in our cap, looking at our growth over the last 3 years. So that was great for us over the last year. Another key thing for us over last year was a partnership that we formed with the Scottish Refugee Council to support people who have newly arrived in Scotland. There's a programme called New Scots. So when you're working your way through the process of seeking asylum, it is really challenging, I'm sure you can imagine, for lots of different reasons. You've just arrived here, good chance you probably don't speak fluent language. You're based in Glasgow. How can you even understand what's going on? Even if you've got a good command of English language, it's really tough. But really challenging situations that people are in. So we've been able to support them for the next 3 years, and we've got a project that we're kicking off at the moment with the Law Society of Scotland, and that's in relation to helping people navigate their way around immigration law and find out where they can access support, how they can do that. So that's an exciting one that kind of moves across from we agreed it last year, and fortunate to be in a place to try and help out.
Great, Callum. And I certainly had in my list here Deloitte's UK Technology Fast 50 ranking. So congratulations on that. And so let's go to Gregor. What about you? What were your big achievements in 2022, and what lies ahead for 2023?
Yeah, I thought, Callum, you were maybe going to mention your daughter there. I thought I heard her in the background, perhaps.
Sorry, I thought, Edith, you were talking strictly about work, but yeah, I've got a 9-month-old daughter, and that's been the highlight of 2022. Thanks, Gregor.
Yeah, good for her. Background as well. I like that. Sorry, Gregor, on you go.
No, not at all. No, yeah, I think the things Callum's mentioned there obviously been big highlights for us in the last year. And I suppose in a general sense, yeah, again, as Callum mentioned, kind of helping lawyers, making their life a bit easier. That's a big, driver for us. So we've built out quite a few new partnerships, some new integrations, and all of these things I think have come together, hopefully, to make people's life a bit easier. I think as a bit of a trend we've probably seen in the last while that firms of all sizes now are looking to use technology to streamline what they're doing, become more efficient, and do things better. So where traditionally maybe bigger firms were asking about integrations and so on, now we can offer that right down to sole practitioners. We can make that really seamless for them. So I think there's been some good wins, lots of new clients, lots of new partnerships. These things we're doing with our with the Refugee Council as well. Lots of things going on. It's an ever-changing space, but yeah, we've had a really good year.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Gregor, for that. So Grant, moving on to you then. What about your big achievements in 2022 and how you're going to move forward in 2023?
Yeah, I'm just going to start by saying that, my second daughter was born in April of this year. So that was one of my top achievements of last year. But from a Denovo perspective, to be honest with you, there is a bit of a theme coming across here, following on from Callum and Gregor have said already. Collaboration, through integration has really been one of the highlights from us. I mean, we collaborate with both Amiqus and Cashroom currently. We're continuing to develop that throughout last year and into this year. But beyond that, we managed to secure an integration with the Scottish Legal Aid Board, which was a kind of long time coming, really. It's something that has been in the pipeline, I'm going to say for roughly about 10 years, to be honest. And, just for whatever reason hasn't really come to fruition. But, we now integrate with Slab Online, and, so we'll now accept an account. Slab Online will now accept an account as a case management option. So from within our caseload software platform, we've introduced a new way of submitting legal aid accounts to Slab. So you can use the Slab integration option. You can submit work items from time recorded entries and caseload directly to Slab and request payment. So that was really one of the key partnerships that came to fruition really last year, but also with the likes of Property Search, which is something that we've brought into the system as well through an integration with Miller & Bryce, which has been very, very well received so far, and we're actually going to be developing that as we move into the new year with other property search platforms as well. And I think for us, really, one of the it was the first year that we had been recognised at the Legal Awards this year as well, which was, in all honesty, quite exciting for most of the team. The opportunity to get dolled up and head along to that event. Chris and I had
with your. I remember seeing you with your fancy bow tie on.
Oh, I know, that was a disaster almost, as it was ordered from let's say a bit of a swanky bow tie online store, and unfortunately I didn't click the pre-tied button on as it went into my basket, and unfortunately arrived untied, to which I then had to make my way to LinkedIn to try and get some advice on how to actually sort this thing. Now, you would think, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there, etc., that would allow you to show you how to do that. But this was quite an awkward looking tie, quite large in its appearance. And I ended up rushing my way down to Slater's pre-event to actually get one of the women, and they're lovely women, who I'm still, I still owe her a bottle of wine actually, but who tied my tie for me as if she was my mammy, so it was that was an interesting start to it. But it was just one of these moments for us. We've been working hard, not just internally, but also with our law firm partners, with our clients who have over the years, a lot of them stuck with us for a number of years. And when we launched Caseload back in 2019, it was still very much in its infancy, and the platform's really just growing, as we've moved through the past few years. Obviously, it's been a challenging few years, but ultimately the requirement to, as Callum and Gregor have both quite rightly said, to make life easier for firms has, that's not faltered in any way, and we're still trying to do that. And it's interesting because I spend quite a lot of time visiting firms, going out and having conversations with them about how we can help. And there's still many firms out there who are still working in that kind of antiquated way, and and not really utilising technology in any form to its full potential. And I think that's really the goal for us as we move into the new year, is spending time not just trying to acquire new business. That's not what it's about. From our perspective, it's about supporting firms to ensure that they're getting the most out of any platform that they're using. So we've tried to provide a sort of open forum almost, where we can give advice, not just about the platform that we sell, but just tech in general, IT in general, and open that up to anyone really to come forward. And we would put that out to the wider Scottish legal community as well. If they are just looking for tips, advice, and just to be steered in the right direction. All we're ever trying to do, all of us, is just move the needle a little bit. That's all we're trying to do. And if we can help them do that, that's a big win for everyone. So we're going to continue to collaborate with the likes of Cashroom, Amiqus, and others as we move into the new year, and hopefully get to the point where anyone who is out there who's still struggling to make that transition over to using tech to really get there a bit quicker.
Fantastic. Well, you sound very enthusiastic about it all, Grant. So I'm sure it'll all go absolutely well. And I'm coming back to you in a moment, as I will with everyone, for your tips, or an easy tip, so you can offer somewhat live on here in a moment. But Chris, let's come to you and the Cashroom. Tell us about your big achievements in 2022 and how you're going to go forward in 23.
Yeah, thanks. And really, for us at Cashroom, it's following similar themes, I think, to what we've talked about so far here, and that's around growth. It's around collaboration and integrations from a technology front, and ultimately, really just trying to make our clients, who are generally law firms and lawyers, make their life easier. And from our perspective, it's about the compliant bookkeeping, legal cashiering, production of quality management information. And it's about making that as easy for the lawyer as possible to remain compliant and get that quality MI to allow them to run their practice. And in terms of the last year, I say growth, we've grown the business at the Cashroom by about 25% again, year on year. We're now supporting about 250 law firms on a regular basis, providing an outsourced finance function to those. We've grown our team to about 140 people. And that covers all aspects of legal finance, but also a technology team, and all the other aspects that go around that. So it's been just a very busy year with all of that. As Grant mentioned, integrations has been a big thing for us from a technology perspective, and we've been working hard on that, very much with the view of a piece of data should only be entered once into any system. And again, back to that collaboration, as far as we're concerned at Cashroom, we don't really care where that data is entered the first time. That's then our job as system providers and service providers to make that integration and that flow of data work. The key thing is about giving the lawyer the option as to what works for them, what works best for them, what system do they want to live in, and everything else then is the easy part. As I tell our techies, I'm not sure they necessarily agree with me, but it's then just about plugging the systems into each other and letting that data flow. But we've been doing a lot of work on that, both with integrations into practice management systems such as Denovo, also into the open banking framework, and really trying to streamline the process of monitoring monies in and out of a law firm's, primarily their client account, because that's the piece that's regularly time sensitive, and we need that slick flow of information. And we've launched some really slick integrations into that open banking framework. Actually, really exciting today. We got confirmation that we've got approval to be regulated as FCA agents of a third-party provider to allow us to fully roll out, hopefully from tomorrow, an integration that will effectively allow us to have a real-time feed straight from the bank into our system, showing money arriving in the lawyer's client account in almost real time, which is just going to, particularly when we think about conveyancing transactions and so on, it's just going to streamline that process and the amount of time that's wasted across the sector ultimately of phone calls and emails of, has my money arrived, or am I ready to send this settlement? Can you let me know as soon as it arrives? We've got an integration there now that's going to give us that in near real time, which is going to be massively beneficial both to us and to our clients across the profession. In terms of highlights across the last year, Grant mentioned the legal awards, and again, that was a great achievement for us. Maybe a touchy subject with Grant that we
that's if I'm honest.
I only mentioned it because you did, Grant. But yeah, to be recognised at the Scottish Legal Awards and to win the Legal Technology Award was a great recognition of the work that our team has been doing in that space, and particularly for a business like ours, where our core business is that of legal cashiering, bookkeeping, accounting, and we like to we're not your traditional bookkeeping, legal cashiering business, and we are trying to do things differently, and we're trying to really push the use of technology there. So it was great to be recognised in that space at the Legal Awards. And the other big thing for us in 2022, and a big focus as we go into 2023, was we also launched the Cashroom in the US. So in October, we incorporated the business in America, and we spent a lot of time over there across the summer and towards the tail end of the year doing a lot of market research. And it was fascinating to explore the US legal system as well and understand the challenges that are being faced across there. And there was a real opportunity for what we provide in the UK to take that. And it was really interesting that we thought when we moved across into the US, it might be slightly different value proposition, product offering, but in actual fact, the similarities are really amazing. And across the US, it seems that lawyers and law firms are facing a lot of the same challenges, and there's a massive opportunity there. And the way that tech can actually help with that, I think one of the things that we were really quite amazed by and struck by is that we feel the US legal market is probably about 10 years behind the UK legal market when it comes to adoption of technology. And therefore there's a real opportunity to be a part of driving that change and driving that adoption, because when I say they're 10 years behind, their use of technology is about where we were 10 years ago. There's no question it'll take them 10 years to catch up. I think, as we all know, the speed of change and the speed of adoption in tech is such that will happen very quickly, and we'll start to see developments there. So that was another big achievement for us at Cashroom across the last year. And as I say, exciting times ahead in 2023.
Absolutely. So you've all described really incredible achievements and all sounding very excited and powered up for going forward. So well done to you all. So let me do another round robin of this. Starting with Callum again, do you have a recommendation for an easy tech win or a great app or resource podcast, something like that you think would benefit our lawyer audience? Callum, starting with you.
Yeah, I could give you a couple of examples. So one obvious one that I wouldn't spend too much time, but obviously from an AML perspective, there's requirements to manage stuff with your staff as well as with your clients. And turns out we've got lots of clients who are not aware that actually digital right to work is a new requirement that's coming in. We are covered through a UK framework, which we're the only company in Scotland that's able to do that. But it means that anytime you employ someone, you need to complete a digital right to work check, and we can provide that. We've not done a very good job of telling all of our clients that yet, but that's a really simple thing to do. So if you're already an Amiqus client, you can switch on an account and you can cover off that obligation that you've got, which is for any company across the UK. Aside from Amiqus though, a really easy and obvious one would be get a password manager. Even if it's at home and your law firm doesn't actually adopt that yet, or you maybe aren't able to influence that right away and get it across the whole firm, having a password manager, we use 1Password across the board. There are many others. A really simple, secure, easy way to store all of your logins, any credit card type information, any bank stuff. Really simple thing to do, but really obvious advantages as far as getting yourself sorted out security wise. And then from a great resource or podcast, the couple of ones that I would listen to, when I'm not listening to Hey Legal content, obviously, would be the podcast called 20VC. You can have a look at that. It's all about early stage or growing technology, and there's loads of really interesting guests and content that's on that, as well as another one called Lenny Rajitsky. He does a really good one, which is all about product management, and it's really interesting. If it was a book, then the book would absolutely be The Cold Start Problem by Andrew Chen, and that's all about scaling a technology business. And there's loads of parallels that you could apply to being in a law firm and figuring out how you could grow your practice area or do things a little bit differently, and do that digitally or not. You can do loads of stuff on it and kind of offline, but that's a really good one. So definitely recommend the cold start problem.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Callum. Lots of tips from you and bonus points for mentioning Hey Legal. Obviously, that is the first recommendation that any of you would make. I'm sure that goes without saying. Gregor, moving on to you. Recommendations for Easy Tech Win, great app, resource, podcast, anything you think might benefit our lawyer audience?
Yeah, I've got a couple as well. The first one is the UK LTA, which is UK Legal Tech Association. This is for anyone who's interested, in legal tech. It is picking up on something Grant said. It is a forum for both law firms and tech providers to get together, to provide a forum for people to chat about things, talk about problems, issues, what's coming down the line. It's a very non-sales environment. So if you go along to one of their events or webinars, you won't be sold to. It's very much a kind of, just to provoke thought and chat amongst friends and colleagues. So check out the UK LTA and you can have a look at some of their events and see if it's something that's of interest to you. The second one maybe comes back to James's initial kind of introduction. It's an app we use on Slack, but it could be easily replicated elsewhere. It's called Donut, and this randomly allocates you with a colleague I think you can set it for whatever time period you want, but I think ours does every 2 weeks, randomly allocates you half an hour coffee break with a colleague, and we're doing it remotely, but it's been absolutely brilliant for me and for people coming into the business to talk to colleagues in other areas that you just wouldn't get the chance to. I've had some amazing conversations with software engineers that are based in London or elsewhere that work for us that I just wouldn't get the chance to speak to. It comes back to James's point about kind of well-being, as well as that collaboration and working as one team, even if you're based remotely. So I think that could be replicated whether you are a firm that have colleagues working remotely, or even if you're in person, you could still do it. You could still meet for a coffee and have a chat. So those are my 2 tips for what they were.
Excellent. I imagine that donut idea could be quite interesting depending on who you ended up with. But yeah, that's how these kind of conversations start. And that sounds like a really, really good idea. Thank you, Gregor.
Could be like a trainee to the managing partner. It's like completely random. You get trained and they'll pick up something about, oh, we should go and fix that problem, or all sorts of stuff that come off the back of them, just completely random. But really interesting chat. You're not supposed to talk about work in them either. It's supposed to be about what you're doing outside of work. So good to kind of just learn and connect with different people we maybe wouldn't day to day.
Yeah, and a kind of captive audience. I'm sure you could slip in some work things if you thought it was going to help. But that's a really interesting concept. Thanks so much, Gregor. Grant, what about you? Do you want me to repeat the question, or did you get a note?
No, it's fine. I think as we move into the rest of this year, really from our perspective, the feedback that we're getting from a lot of firms that we're having conversations with around platforms that they're using is around customization. So this is something that we've put a lot of focus on over the past 3 and a bit years since we launched our platform, was having the ability to almost make a platform your own to an extent. Many firms that we deal with who are operating on similar work types are actually their actual working practices day to day are actually quite different. So therefore, having the ability to customize, whether it's a case management platform or any other platform, is something that we are finding is attractive to a lot of firms, and particularly to these firms that I mentioned earlier that are not as tech savvy, that are maybe slightly resistant to that change, whether it's moving, making the big change, which is moving from the paper file to an online platform, the ability to have terminologies that they understand, that they can sort of manipulate within the platform, to have workflows that they can manipulate to their liking. These are all things that we've started to build in to our platform to ensure that we deliver that for our law firm partners. So definitely from our perspective, that's what we're going to be focusing on. I do know that that's what our audience are looking for from us. So we'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to work with solicitors and their teams to make sure that we deliver it. I mean, as a marketeer, I'm sort of moving away from sort of general sort of legal tech, and I'm going to bring up Chat GPT, which I'm sure everybody is aware of. But this platform is very, very interesting, and a quick Google search will tell you all about it. But the platform itself, is capable of generating such a wide range of responses to such a wide variety of different prompts, from everything from looking for, recipes to content for your business. The AI within this platform is absolutely incredible, and I think that's the reason why the platform had, and this is free at the moment as well for anyone who's unaware. But if you have a search for it and you can register and have a play around, I wouldn't suggest doing it during business hours because you won't get access. It's that busy. They had 1 million users after 5 days. I think that's the first platform in history to ever do that. And the chat is over the next 6 months that the kind of power behind artificial intelligence is going to increase by about 500%. So that's going to be really interesting. But ultimately, the reason I bring this up is because, when I'm having conversations from a marketing perspective, which I do frequently when I'm chatting to our clients, there's always a conversation around content, particularly for the small to medium-sized firms who don't have in-house marketeers. They perhaps don't work with an agency. How do I generate that content? This might just be a way of doing that. Now, it's a controversial topic, I think, at the moment, the whole platform itself. But the idea to be able to sort of, ask a question on an online platform and have it generate personalized responses to customer inquiries, or client inquiries, have it generating content for social media platforms, having it generating chatbot responses in real time, generating personalized email responses. It can generate content for you. And there's two ways that I look at this. The first way is I go, well, is this going to make the next generation who are coming after us lazy? So I worry a little bit about that, because then you don't have to go and really do the work. However, I would flip that on its head and say, let's use it as an educational tool. So if you're struggling to create content, perhaps this is just a stepping stone to getting to that point. Is it going to just give you enough that you can actually start to generate that content and use it to market your business? If you can give it a little bit of time, and the biggest problem is time, right? For all lawyers, it's what we hear every single time we talk to them. It doesn't matter what size of firm they are. There's a lack of time, but there is also an appetite to do all these things, to utilize social media platforms to create content and to deliver that to their audience. So this might be a way of kickstarting that, and like I said earlier, just moving that needle a little bit forward. So we'll see, but it's a powerful tool. Interesting stuff, Grant. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. And finally, I'm going to come to Chris. I think we're just slightly running not out of time. Chris, give us a tip. What would you do?
Yeah, no, I'll keep this fairly brief. To me, the best tip in terms of when it comes to tech or process or anything, to me it's all about mindset, and it's about challenging yourself to to change your mindset of just doing what you've done every day, and this is a process, just do it. And it's about trying to get into that mindset of, if you find yourself doing a task or a process where you think there must be a better way of doing this, first of all, there probably is, you just don't know about it. So actually change your mindset from moaning about it of, oh, there must be a better way of doing this, or I wish there was a better way to do this, to actually find the time, create the time to be inquisitive. Go and, whether it's a system you're using, what happens if I press this button instead? Or go and try and mess about with the tools that you've got. I know that often with tools, we only use a very small fraction of the power that these tools have. So actually just challenge yourself and try and break it. Try and press that button, see what happens, see if that gives me a better option. And speak to people, likes of suppliers that you use. So if you're using Denovo, and Grant talked about this earlier, speak to Grant or speak to Callum or Gregor, not necessarily just about their own products, but about different challenges you're having, because they probably know someone or know something that can help with that. And similar with us at the Cashroom. And that would be my biggest tip, is to get the biggest return and the sort of quick wins, is challenge yourself to go and find better ways to use the tools that you have. And if you can't find the solution, give feedback. If there's a feedback option on the software, or suggest a new feature or things like that, actually engage with it. We get some really good feedback through that on our portal. But in actual fact, we get very small volumes of feedback. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is always drive up the volumes of feedback, because either there's a solution that might already be there to fix the problem that people have, or there might be a quick development that could be done to repurpose something else to fix a problem that we didn't know people were having. So that would be my big tip.
Excellent, Chris. Thank you so much. Also, I'm just going to chip in again with the Hey Legal Tech for All Lawyers course and the Winning Business Online CPD certificate courses created by Hey Legal with the Law Society, and we'll put links in for that. And Ali tells me we're going to collate all of your tips that you've just given there, and we'll put that into an easily accessible file as well for people to pick up on all those. So thank you so much, Callum, Gregor, Grant, and Chris. Excellent advice from you all. Well done on all your achievements, and all the very best going forward in 2023. Thank you so much. We're going to take not at all. We're going to take another short break. Thank you again.
The Law Society of Scotland's Risk Roadshow is back. For the first time since 2019, our expert speakers will be on the road, visiting 6 locations across the country as they address the latest issues in risk management. Brought to you by Lockton, the master policy broker, join us in person as we explore the implications of working in a post-pandemic landscape and how to maintain standards while minimising the new risks remote working presents. Learn how to best protect yourself from a potential cyber attack, and discuss how to implement a secure succession strategy that ensures your clients and colleagues are protected. To learn more and to book your place, please visit our Roadshow website.
So welcome back. The show just seems to be running away, but we have some time left, and I'm now joined by Richard Farquhar. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. He'll correct me when he comes on.
Hi.
Paterson. Hi, Richard.
Yes. You said it perfectly. Well done. Thank you. And I've heard all the jokes about Shrek and everything else.
So, Richard, Cashroom and Financial Planning Limited. And I guess lawyers don't really focus much on financial planning or as much as they should. And so, Richard, we're looking from you tonight to give us some easy wins or things to think about. And I've got a few headings here. So we can maybe kick off with the pension contributions. Can you give a bit of a chat about that?
Yes, and I'm aware that pensions aren't the most exciting topic to be discussing, but it's an important thing and it's worth covering. At this time of year, you often find people looking at their finances and having a bit of a tidy up, and with the tax year just round the corner now, it's worth having a look at some things. So first up, pension contributions are worth considering. Pension contributions are a really tax efficient way to save for your future. It's worth remembering that in the last budget that we had, income tax is going to increase from April. And in Scotland, we're going to be paying, if you're a high rate taxpayer, it's going to increase to 42%. And if you're an additional taxpayer, you're going to be paying 47% tax on everything above 125,000. So by putting money into pensions, we can offset some of that tax. So it's worth speaking to your employer or whoever runs the company pension scheme to see in what basis your contributions are made. Often your contribution comes from your gross salary and goes straight into the pension, and that's where you get your tax relief, so you're not paying the 42% or the 47%. So that's worth considering. Obviously, stating the obvious, it's building up a nest egg for the future. So you get tax relief on your pension contributions, and when you retire, you get to take some of that back tax-free, with the rest of it being taxable. But it's worth remembering that pensions are very efficient from an inheritance tax point of view, because they tend to not form part of the your estate for inheritance tax purposes. So if you want to save some money up and mitigate inheritance tax for the future, pensions are a great way to do that. So along with the tax efficiencies, you can also do what's called carry forward contributions. So HMRC always want their slice from us, but they'll let you go back up to 3 years to make contributions from unused allowance. So in simple terms, you're allowed to put up to 40,000 a year into pensions, which might be beyond the scope of most people, but it'd be worth to put in extra money in if you can do that. You can put in up to 40,000 or as much as your earnings. However, if you earn over 240,000, they start to cap how much you're allowed to put into pension each year. So it might be an idea if you've got some savings and you want to put it into pension, you can save some tax, some income tax, you get some income tax relief back, and also grow your pension pot and put it out with the clutches of HMRC for inheritance tax. So there's lots of boxes ticked there. The other important thing about pensions is the death benefits over the last few years have become very attractive. So if you salted away a few $100,000 in your pension and you unfortunately died before age 75, whatever's left in your pension is fully accessible to your dependents, and they would get that tax-free, which is very generous, obviously. And then death after 75, you'd still get access to the capital, your beneficiaries would, but they would pay tax whatever their marginal rate is, as and when they draw that out of the pension pot. So worth having a chat to employers to see if you can increase your pension contributions. Some employers will match whatever you increase it by, so it's worth doing that as well. Others will do what's called salary sacrifice, whereby you give up some of your salary, it goes straight into your pension, but you save some of the national savings contributions because they're paid into your pension as well. So a few tips on the pension side, and it's always worth making sure that you've got your beneficiary form completed for your own pension so that you dictate where the pension goes in line with your wishes. And you can fill in beneficiary forms as many times as you want over the years. That's not something that's set in stone on day one.
Excellent, Richard. I'm picking things up as I go along. So it's really, really helpful stuff. So what about things then, next thing on my list, kind of ISAs and... ISAs is a good one. ISAs grow virtually free of tax, so they're a good savings vehicle. Everyone gets to put up to 20,000 a year into ISAs, so always worth considering doing an ISA. You've got the choice with an ISA. You can go a cash ISA. Now the interest rates have increased. You might find the returns are, say, 4% north for a cash ISA fixed for a year, or you can have a stocks and shares ISA where, depending on your attitude to risk, you can invest in an element of shares depending on how much risk you're prepared to take, and you might get a return higher than 4 or 5% over the medium to long term. So ISAs are worthwhile. Unlike pensions, you can take money out of an ISA whenever you like. So it's a nice little nest egg to build up for you to tap into whenever you want. And in later life, which we sometimes do for clients that are
got one eye on inheritance tax. You can move your ISA and keep it within the ISA wrapper for tax efficiency, but you can move into AIM portfolios. So after 2 years of holding the AIM portfolio, your ISA pot becomes free of inheritance tax as well. So that's worth thinking of, depending on what stage of life you're at. Another one worth considering is what's called the lifetime ISA, which you can pay into up to, you have to open one before you're 40. Slightly complicated, this one. You have to open it before you're 40, and you're allowed to contribute up until age 50. And the reason for that is you're allowed to put 4,000 a year in, but for every 4,000 you put in, the government put in a 25% bonus to make it 5,000. And the idea is you either use that for one of two things. One of them is the purchase of your first house. So it's good to build up some capital for that if you're looking at first-time house ownership, or you can use it for retirement, and you can tap into that pot anytime from age 50 onwards. So another good reason to look at ISAs is that the lifetime ISA, and you can have both. You can have a lifetime ISA and put in the 4,000, and you can put 16 into like a stocks and shares ISA. So you can have both running it at the same time. But in the current climate, to get a £3,000 from the government isn't the worst. So if you can afford to put some money into a lifetime ISA, then it's well worth considering, especially if you're looking at a first-time house purchase. And you can put the lifetime ISA into cash if you just want to get 3 or 4%. As I said earlier, you can go for that with the lifetime ISA. It doesn't need to be invested. So plenty of options with it as well.
This is all revelations to me. Richard, I'm sure will be helping a lot of people watching. So let's keep going. The next one is overpaying mortgage contributions.
Yeah, I thought this one was topical because interest rates have risen so dramatically over the past 12 months. So if we go back to January a year ago, interest rates were at 0.1%. And as of last month, they hit 3.5%. So because inflation's increased so much over the period, the Bank of England have had to raise interest rates dramatically. So if you've got a mortgage or you're thinking about getting one, that's going to have an effect at some point on the rate of interest that you pay. So hopefully most people with a mortgage are paying between 1% and 3%, depending on circumstances, fixed in for a period of time. But when that fixed period ends, you're going to be paying at higher interest rates. It's probably unavoidable. So the current kind of forecasts are that interest rates might hit 4.5% to 5% within the next 12 months. But then the plan is hopefully that starts to taper back down again once inflation comes under control. So when I looked at mortgage rates earlier, the typical kind of interest rate was about 5.5%. So we could be looking at mortgage rates at 6.5%, 7% perhaps in a year's time. So maybe now's the time to overpay some into your mortgage. So if you speak to your lender, most lenders will let you pay in up to 10% of the value of your mortgage each year as an additional contribution. But you could do that on a monthly basis if you wanted to. And that additional monthly payment that you make eats into the capital. You're not paying interest on that. So it's a worthwhile consideration. It might make it a bit more palatable when your fixed rate ends, that you're probably paying a similar rate if you do it, if you follow what I mean. But the alternative would be to take some additional monthly monies and open up a regular savings account. I had a look earlier today, and there was one of the banks was paying 7% per annum for regular monthly savings. So if you're only paying between 1% and 3% of your mortgage just now, it might be a plan, if you can afford to put some additional monies into a regular savings account, and then when your fixed rate ends, you cash in your 7% per annum and put that towards your mortgage, just to try and mitigate that increase in interest rates when it comes along, whenever that may be. So,
fantastic, Richard. Yeah, you're throwing out lots of helpful advice here. And then EIS I've got as a final heading.
Yes. I thought I'd just touch on that. Enterprise investment schemes, as the name suggests, it's an incentive by the government for you to invest in kind of smaller companies that are growing, and they give you really good tax advantages for doing that. So enterprise investment schemes are probably aimed at people that have maxed out their pension contributions and maxed out ISA contributions and are looking to offset some income tax and perhaps inheritance tax as well, because you can put up to $1 million. Obviously, that's a big number, but you can put up to $1 million a year into enterprise investment schemes. and you get 30% tax relief for whatever you put into the enterprise investment scheme. So if you're going to be looking at a big inheritance tax bill, then perhaps, sorry, not inheritance tax, income tax, perhaps that's something to look at. But the caveat with enterprise investment schemes is that they are high risk. So they're not like your bog standard ISA portfolios. They are investing in small companies. So there is a chance some of them might go bust. But I suppose the flip side is that EIS investments come with up to 45% loss relief should you lose whatever you've put into it over the period. But as I say, you do get inheritance tax relief if you've held the enterprise investment scheme for 2 years, which is obviously good. And you can also offset capital gains tax liabilities by buying or purchasing one. Sorry, I've got a puppy and she's just gate crashed. They say never work with children and animals, and my puppy's gate crashed, so apologies.
No apologies needed. I'm just delighted that my two are lying quietly here and haven't started barking, and that was a kindness. So she's lovely. What kind of dog is she?
She's a wire fox terrier. She's just been out a walk, but she couldn't resist gate crashing, I'm afraid. So try not to let her put me off my track. She might have done that, but EIS schemes are not for the faint-hearted, and probably for people with more money to put away than not. Yeah. But yeah, there's benefits for them, but obviously there's some risks as well because the tax breaks are so good. Yeah.
Richard, that's been so informative. I always just start to panic when people start talking about financial things, and all the things you're talking about there. Yeah. I probably need to come and have a chat with you myself.
Yeah.
So
please do. No, that'd be good. And I say that to everyone. Everyone says the same. I think the sooner you start to plan for what it is you're aiming for, usually retirement in most cases, the better. Most people think they'll be okay in retirement, but aren't quite sure. So it's always good to get a plan in place and have something to work to, I suppose.
Absolutely. So we've got your contact details on screen.
Thanks.
We'll link that in and we'll share that, Richard. But thank you so much for coming and telling us those little nuggets.
No problem at all. It's been a pleasure. And I'm sorry, my dog's gate crashed.
Not at all. Your dog's very welcome, and I'm just glad it was your dog that made a noise and not mine. And I can't believe that they've been so quiet throughout the whole thing. Richard, thank you so much. Lovely to speak with you, and we'll share your details. So thank you again.
Great. Thanks very much. See you later.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks. Bye.
So that then brings us to the end of tonight's Hey Legal Social. Last thing for me to mention, though, something very important, is that Hey Legal is running an online event called Powering Up for the year ahead. And that is an online, obviously, as I say, an online event with a focus on positivity, wellbeing strategies, learning from leading lawyers, and we will even have a laugh or two along the way. Tickets are on sale now. You will get 5 hours of CPD, and you can watch live, or you can get it on catch up. So a really worthwhile event, powering up for the year ahead, coming up in February this year. So we hope that you have enjoyed the social. Thank you to all our sponsors who helped to make this possible. Please check them out and use their services if you can. And thank you so much to all of my guests tonight. I don't know if that's the most guests I've ever had on the social, but it was really worthwhile, good fun, and thank you to all of our guests. And we will see you next time. Thanks again. Good night.